reconstructions of the town, because it was all localised around these sort of multiple places of worship. And this influenced scholars coming to this area. Now, there was a bit of a divide between scholars initially arriving in Cambridge and these colleges being developed. Because realistically, when the scholars first came here, they were very unorganised. They didn't have any sort of actual kind of university as such. They were just learning as individuals. But it was actually the act of the church which founded the first college. And it was simply to give all of these men coming here to practice sort of learning a bit of structure and a bit of organisation. So effectively, we can thank the church for the institutes that we see in Britain today. Now, throughout the years, it became more and more popular for the upper classes to study at colleges. And so what we had was a sort of natural progression of money coming into these institutes. And that's why what we see today is so sort of ornate and spectacular and grandiose. So what we're in at the moment is St John's College. It's on both sides of us, and we've been going through it for some time because St John's College here is the second largest college in this whole town. It's built up in 13 different courts. Most colleges built up around 2 or 3, so that gives you an idea of the actual scale of the place. But still, because of the type of institute that Cambridge is, and it wants to sort of promote learning, but also give each student a sort of fair allocation. St John's, despite its overall size, will still only take about 1,000 students on it in total. And just over here to your right is probably the most impressive building for St John's, and this is called the New Court. But actually, it's almost entirely second-year accommodation. Okay, and that's the thing that we should really point out as we go along here. Probably about 80% of the buildings we're going to see along here today are just student accommodation these days. And that's because the university now acts as sort of almost like an umbrella over the top of all of these colleges. And so what we've seen is a lot of things have changed as we've gone down the line here, and it's actually now the faculties which sort of control the learning here, rather than the actual colleges themselves. Okay, so when you study here, it doesn't really matter which college you go to as such, because all of your learning and so on will be centrally run by the university itself. Now, St John's, when it was first built up, was constructed in 1511 by the Lady Margaret Botham. But actually, she wasn't really around for it to actually see any of the build of the build here actually start. And what actually happened was that a bishop and her executor of her estate sort of took over and took all of the money here to have this college constructed. But no one else ever saw this will, and so there's actually quite a lot of controversy as to whether this much money should have been ploughed into the college. Nonetheless though, because of the way that Henry so I've got absolutely no idea what this is. They're just having a party. This college over here, this is Trinity.
Yeah, and, looks like.
And Trinity and St John's are being rivals. And actually what's happened is that when St John's was built, when St John's was built, Henry sort of looked at the amount of money that went into it, and he became quite enraged. Henry had just finished off his sort of divulsion of Catholic monasteries, and so he'd really kind of maxed out the treasury. He'd made it sort of the largest that it had been for many years because of the onslaught of things like the War of the Roses, which was started by his sort of predecessor, which was Henry VI, and he'd sort of stolen off the land and things like that, which he donated obviously to his church, the Church of England. But also, he then had sort of this kind of controversy that the universities here were linked very heavily to the church, and he'd just taken all their money. So the universities were kind of threatening his authority in a way. They were kind of almost going away against his decision. But they'd already addressed the heads of the universities, so Oxford, Cambridge, even York and Durham were sort of around by this stage. They'd already addressed his wife, and it was a sick wife, the one he truly loved, and said, you know, can you please make sure he doesn't destroy us? So he was left with a bit of a dilemma. What he did is he founded Trinity over here. By sort of merging two colleges together, giving it a lot of money and land, which he had sort of taken from the Catholic Church, and that means that today Trinity sort of is known as the largest college. It's all because Henry VIII didn't want to be outdone by anyone, and so